I'm 83 years old. My name is Margaret. When Richard died, people kept telling me I'd need help, that I should move closer to my children, that a woman my age shouldn't be alone. But here's what nobody tells you about getting older. The most reliable support you'll have doesn't come from your family. It doesn't come from your friends. And it definitely doesn't come from expecting the world to take care of you. It comes from 5 things only you can build for yourself. I know that sounds harsh, maybe even cruel, but I've watched too many people my age become dependent, become burdens, become smaller and smaller until they disappeared entirely. And I've also watched a few others stay whole, stay themselves, stay free. The difference wasn't luck. It was these 5 things. The first thing is your body, your ability to move. I learned this the hard way when I was 75. I woke up one morning and couldn't get out of bed without gripping the nightstand. My knees wouldn't straighten, my back felt like it had locked overnight. I sat on the edge of the bed shaking, thinking, this is it. This is how it starts. I thought about Mrs. Patterson down the street. She was 72 when she stopped being able to climb stairs. Within a year, she'd moved in with her daughter. Within 2 years, she barely left her room. She didn't lose her mind. She lost her legs. And when you lose your legs, you lose your choices. That morning, sitting on my bed, terrified, I made a decision. I started walking every single day, even when it hurt, even when I didn't want to, even when it was cold or raining or I was tired. Just 30 minutes around the block, nothing fancy. And I stretched. Not the way I used to when I was younger, those big twisting stretches that made everything worse. Just gentle movements, circles with my ankles, lifting my knees while sitting in a chair, rolling my shoulders. Small things, but every single day. Now at 83, I can still get out of bed without help. I can still walk to the store. I can still carry my own groceries. And that means I don't have to ask. I don't have to wait. I don't have to depend. My friend Eleanor is 79. She stopped moving 5 years ago. Just stopped. She said her knees hurt, so she sat more. And the more she sat, the worse they got. And the worse they got, the more she sat. Now she can't walk to her own mailbox without someone holding her arm. She's a prisoner in her own body. And when you're a prisoner in your body, you're a prisoner everywhere. So that's the first thing. Your body. Your ability to move. You have to protect it like your life depends on it. Because it does. The second thing is learning to need less. I used to think security meant having more money saved, more things, more comfort. But I was wrong. Security means needing less. I learned this when I was 68, 2 years after Richard died. I was sitting at the kitchen table one night, looking at bills. The house was too big. The heating cost too much. The property taxes kept going up. I was spending money just to maintain a life I didn't even want anymore. I thought about my neighbor, Mr. Hartley. He'd worked his whole life, saved well, retired with a good pension, but he'd built a life that cost too much to maintain. Big house, 2 cars, expensive habits. By 74, his savings were running out faster than he'd planned. He started depending on his son for money. And every time he had to ask, I could see a little bit of him disappear. I didn't want that. So I sold the house. I bought this small place, 1 floor, low maintenance, paid in full. I got rid of the second car. I learned to cook simple meals instead of eating out. I stopped buying things I didn't need just because I was used to having them. And something strange happened. I felt richer, not because I had more money, because I needed less of it. When you need less, nobody has power over you. You don't have to ask your children for help. You don't have to make compromises you don't want to make. You don't have to smile and say thank you when you really want to say no. My friend Dorothy is 81. She still lives in her big house. She can barely afford it, but she won't downsize because she's afraid of what people will think, so she struggles. And she asks her kids for money, and every time she asks, the resentment grows on both sides. She has more than I do, but I'm freer than she'll ever be. The third thing is your health, not luck, habits. I wish someone had told me this when I was younger, but I'm telling you now. After 60, your body doesn't give you second chances. I watched my brother Tom ignore every sign his body sent him. He smoked, he drank, he ate whatever he wanted. He never went to the doctor. I feel fine, he'd say. I'm tough. At 71, his body sent the bill. Diabetes, heart problems, high blood pressure. Suddenly, he was taking 8 medications, going to doctors every week, living in fear of the next attack. He didn't die, but he stopped living. He became a manager of his own decline, that's all. Pill schedules, dietary restrictions, constant fear. I started different when I turned 70. I began walking every morning. I started eating real food instead of whatever was convenient. I drank water. I slept 8 hours. I went to the doctor every year whether I felt sick or not. Not because I enjoyed it, because I knew what happened if I didn't. Now at 83, I don't take any daily medications. My blood pressure is normal. My heart is strong. I'm not special. I just did small things consistently for years. And because of that, I don't need help managing my health. I don't need someone to remind me to take pills. I don't need someone to drive me to endless appointments. I'm free because my body still works. That's the third thing, your health. You have to earn it every single day, or you'll spend your last years paying for the neglect. The fourth thing is your ability to handle loss without falling apart. This one nobody talks about, but it's the most important, because after 60, you're going to lose things. People, abilities, the life you had. The question isn't whether you'll face loss. The question is, can you survive it without becoming someone who needs to be carried? I learned this when Richard died. I was 66. We'd been married for 44 years, and when he was gone, I felt like half of myself had disappeared. I knew 2 paths in front of me. I could collapse. I could let the grief consume me. I could become a woman who needed her children to visit constantly, to fill the emptiness, to give me a reason to get out of bed. Or I could grieve and keep walking. I chose to keep walking. I let myself cry. I let myself miss him, but I didn't let the missing become my whole identity. I kept my routines. I kept my walks. I kept showing up to my own life. And slowly, I built something new. Not better, not the same, just new. My friend Virginia lost her husband around the same time, but she made a different choice. She stopped doing anything she used to do with him. She stopped going to church. She stopped seeing friends. She sat in her house and waited for her children to come fill the void, and they tried, but they couldn't. Nobody could. Now, at 80, Virginia lives in a kind of permanent suspension, waiting, needing, bitter that nobody can fix what's broken. The difference between us wasn't that I loved Richard less. It's that I didn't expect anyone else to carry my grief for me. Resilience isn't about being strong. It's about being able to get up after you fall, again and again. And if you can't do that, you'll be dependent on others to lift you, forever. The fifth thing is knowing who you are and refusing to give that up. This is the hardest one, and the one nobody teaches you. Because after 60, people will start making decisions for you, if you let them. Your children will tell you what's safe. Doctors will talk over you like you're not there. Society will assume you're incapable just because you're old. And if you don't know who you are, what you stand for, what matters to you, what you will and won't accept, you'll disappear. I watched this happen to my friend Helen. Her children convinced her to stop driving. Then they convinced her to move closer to them. Then they convinced her to give up activities they thought were too risky. At 77, Helen doesn't live her own life anymore. She lives the life her children think she should live, and the bitterness is eating her alive. I made a different choice. When my daughter Susan suggested I move into assisted living just to be safe, I said no, not angrily, not rudely, just clearly. I appreciate your concern, but while I can take care of myself, I'm staying in my own home. If that changes, we'll talk, but that time isn't now. She pushed. She used worry. She used guilt. But I knew who I was, and I knew what mattered to me. Independence, my own space, my own choices. I'm 83 now, still in my house, still making my own decisions, not because I'm stubborn, because I know what I'm willing to give up and what I'm not. If you don't know that about yourself, other people will decide for you, and you'll spend your last years living someone else's idea of what's best. So those are the 5 things: your body, your ability to need less, your health, your resilience, your sense of self. Nobody can build these for you, and nobody can take them away once you have them. I'm not saying your family doesn't love you. I'm saying love isn't enough. You have to be able to stand on your own, or you'll spend your last years leaning on people who have their own lives to live. And that's not fair to them, and it's not dignified for you. If you're 60, 70, even 80, it's not too late. But you have to start now. Start moving your body. Start simplifying your life. Start taking care of your health. Start building your emotional strength. Start knowing what you stand for, because I promise you this: at 85, you won't regret being disciplined. You'll only regret waiting. If this resonated with you, leave me a comment. I read them all. I also need to share with you the 3 things nobody tells you about living alone. The hard truths I wish someone had warned me about, and how I learned to handle them without losing myself. Click the video that's appearing on screen right now to understand what I mean. Subscribe if you want to sit with me again. Until then, take care of yourself, whatever that means to you.